Hello, everybody. This is Scott from Planet X News. It is Sunday, May 7th, 2017, and we have our professor and our doctor of physics with us today on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. And we're going to be going over an article and some information that we discovered a few days ago. And I did a short video on it. I believe it was Friday. And once again, the massive amount of criticism and videos being made trying to debunk the information that we've discovered. And ladies and gentlemen, I will be straight up front with you once again, like I always am. If you actually stop and think, why would so many people on YouTube come after me and this channel and the doctor if we were just basically playing make-believe and not really getting on to something? As you all probably well know, there are so many worldwide catastrophes related to weather that are occurring all around the world, not just here in the United States, but in many, many other countries. South America is, I don't even know how to begin to explain what is happening in South America with not only earthquakes and some volcanic activity, but, torrential rains and flooding. The flooding in the United States in the central part of this country is out of control. And from what I'm understanding, there is not going to be any end to what's going to occur. Just the other day, a massive cyclone, Donna, formed in the South Pacific, inundated the island of Vanuatu, and putting approximately 250,000 people at risk. And this massive cyclone just basically came out of nowhere, and it is going to increase in strength as the days go on. We are seeing very, very traumatic climate changes around the world. There are parts of the United States on the East Coast that were experiencing fantastic weather, actually in the very, very high 80s towards the middle of last week. And then all of a sudden, temperatures dropped almost 40 degrees in a matter of 24 hours. So there is a lot of weather-related news that directly, we feel, coincides with our research and our investigations into brown dwarf stars, whether you want to call it Planet X or Nemesis, whatever label you want to put on it, you can. It's your prerogative. But at this particular time, the amount of negative feedback that is coming towards me and the doctor and my channels is just literally over the top. And it makes you wonder. It really does make you wonder why some people on YouTube would create an organization to come after me and the doctor and Chris Potter so harshly. If this was just all make-believe, then what would the harm be with my channels and Chris Potter? And what would the harm be with the doctor doing her own research related to brown dwarf stars in our inner solar system? So you really have to start to question everything. You really, really do. So without any further ado, Doctor, how are you? How's your weekend so far?
It's been nice. Thank you, Scott. And you, how are you?
Well, I've been a little busy with a few other things. And I really didn't have a lot of time to go into any other videos on Saturday. And then all of a sudden, I come to find out that there were stories floating around on YouTube that the police came and picked me up and arrested me, and I was thrown in jail.
Oh my goodness. Someone has a big imagination.
Well, I would definitely say they have. It's more than an imagination. I mean, that was just a little bit over the top. And then I came to find out that with one of the other YouTube channels over in the UK, that channel Fact or Fiction, they basically were accusing me and another individual who lives in the UK of creating what they call a hit, like hiring a hitman to go after these individuals in the UK. And the story has come up that this individual's daughter was shot in the leg through her bedroom window. And now there's a complete investigation pertaining to this young lady, young girl, being shot in the leg. But yet, it was my doing. I had everything to do with it. I sent a hitman to the UK to do this. Some of the most ridiculous information that I've heard come out. But anyways, once again, it just adds to what I was just saying. Why would people create such absolutely asinine stories and implicate me if there was not any truth to what we're investigating? So it really makes you wonder who these people are and what they're trying to accomplish. And they call themselves the seekers of truth. And over the course of the weekend, they have taken all my personal photographs from my personal Facebook page, pictures that included myself and my grandmother. And over the course of the weekend, they sent me 68 emails with photographs of me, grandmother, and they were saying in the emails, "Look, Scott, do you see the smile on your grandmother's face? Isn't it going to look funny when she's in a casket?"
Oh my goodness.
And then I actually received some emails yesterday from an individual that actually flat out said they were going to kill me. They were going to kill me dead. But so that doesn't bother me.
The seekers of truth want to kill you for stating the truth. It doesn't sound right, Scott.
Well, you know, again, even if we were onto something that, you know, could be proven to be wrong, why would you want to go to the extent of threatening my life and telling me that you're going to flat out kill me? You're going to come to my house and shoot me. They even named the type of gun. They said, "I'm going to come to your house. I have a nice throwaway weapon. It's a .38 snub-nose revolver, and I'm going to put 5 shots in your head."
Oh my God. That's terrible.
Yeah, definitely terrible. It didn't bother me, though.
Yeah.
I actually found it quite amusing that they would go to that extent to amuse me. But anyways, besides all of that riffraff, because that's basically what it is, bunch of riffraff. You know, you can use my photographs all you want, ladies, because most of these channels using my personal photographs are women. And I know that they're drooling over the photographs, and that's why they want them for their own personal for their own personal attention.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they like me, like really like me. They only
maybe
wish.
they do.
I think, you know, I think they only wish that they could roll over at night next to me
Uh-huh.
instead of their fat, chubby husband. But anyways, the other day, the doctor was looking at some SDO footage, and she spotted something in the corner, the upper right and lower right corner of a still photograph. And she sent the photograph to me, and I worked for hours trying to bring out what was kind of dark and hidden in the corner of this photograph. And after several hours, I was able to bring out these objects, and I made a short video about it. And immediately the debunkers took the video and they stated that what I was showing were JPEG artifacts, meaning pixelized pictures, that there in fact was absolutely nothing there but pixels, little pixels. Well, little do they know how I was able to come about bringing these JPEG artifacts out in the pictures, so you can clearly see what was there. And it wasn't a fact of these objects being pixelized. They were actually being hidden. And when you understand how things can be hidden by using pixelization and how to change that and bring these objects out in the clear, then you'll fully understand that it was a little tedious to bring out these objects. And now they're clear as a bell. Well, I don't want to say clear as a bell, but they are about as clear as we're going to get them. And me and the doctor were both absolutely floored at what we saw in these photographs, because there is absolutely nothing out there within our solar system that would show up on the solar system scope that would be an identifiable planet or star or object that close to the sun. Something, once again, very unexplainable. So therefore, when we make these discoveries, we are then crucified, nailed to the cross like Jesus Christ himself because of our findings. So if you think about it, is that right? Is that the right thing to do? To crucify and threaten and degrade someone for trying to find the truth? But that's what happens. So just as all of you know and all of you understand, that is what is happening. The shutdown of information has once again become, it's just tougher, ladies and gentlemen. It's very tough to get the information out there because there are factions around the world that do not want this information out there to the general public around the world. There is no doubt about that. I'm not trying to deceive you. The doctor is not trying to deceive you. Oh, wait a minute. This is the doctor that is impersonating herself, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny.
But anyways, we're going to bring up the report. And if you just bear with me just one moment, I'm going to share the screen and I'll bring up this report. Because I am still pretty amazed at what we were able to find.
Yes.
And, you know, we had been talking about it in length pertaining to the coronal holes on the sun and the coronal mass ejections and everything that we've been seeing and trying to explain it and come up with answers. And well, the bottom line is, you know, we may have for the first time actually found two of these objects, one in the northern hemisphere, one in the southern hemisphere, and they are both at the right side of the sun as we are looking at it. And that, again, is one of the major possibilities of what is causing such a major disturbance and reaction on the sun. So, Doctor, I'm going to go ahead and I have the report up on the screen that you wrote the other day pertaining to this, and I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up some other photographs later on so we can show everybody what we discovered. So it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Okay, so I start by showing, because I'm going to talk about this further down in this article, according to a image that is a stereo A image of the sun, where we see the object north of the sun that's labeled Saturn. Now I'm going to show clearly that that object cannot be Saturn. And in fact, the sun fires CMEs at that object. Okay, so then I explain, and then I ask, because on my part of my title is why does NASA lie? And the reason why NASA lies is because the truth is actually unacceptable, because the truth changes that we know about physics. The current physical theory about the universe, basically it would crumble. So NASA does everything to hide the truth, mislabels objects, places cutoff lines in images, anything they can. And now we found they also use pixelation to hide objects. And I'm sure you'll talk about that just now. Okay, so we can scroll down some more. This is a SETI image, but the next one are SDO images, Solar Dynamics Observatory images. And this is where I found those objects and that you did such a marvelous job with. All right, so these are X-ray images. So these are in the 9.4 nanometer. So the arrows, the blue arrows, point to objects to the right of the sun. Okay, there's one on the left as well, but mainly it's on the right of the sun. And these images are from May 2nd, 1725 and 1715. The yellow arrow points to a band in a different color. So there was obviously something there that was hidden as well. That's the kind of thing they do to hide objects. But that was right in front of the surface of the sun. But we are interested in what the blue arrows point to, and that is these X-ray sources. Because if there's any green there, it means there are objects that are emitting X-rays, because this is an X-ray image. But they're all very faint. So I noticed them because I look closely at all the images. Okay, and if we scroll down to figure 3, these are the top right-hand corner of both these images. And again, I mean, if we were to, they're very faint, as you can see, but there are objects there. The blue arrow points to them. The yellow arrows point to the even smaller and brighter objects within the region. That's right. So there's one there, and there's 3 in the right image.
Yes, you would miss these. You would miss these very, very easily. You would just your eyeballs wouldn't even see this because it is just actually very, very dark, and you just can't see it.
That's right. So that's why you did a great job with this, because you brought these objects out, but as you can see, they are there. If we look closely at it, even though they are very faint, they are there in the image. That's how I noticed them. That's why I then asked for your help with this. And so we can look further down at what comes out. And it's this, the right-hand image, where we look at the top and the bottom now. This is the bottom part of that image.
Yes,
you
this
can
is the
see their
lower,
action.
Yeah, this is the lower right-hand corner. And I just want to go ahead and
Yeah.
clarify something. I'm going to scoot back up here to these other images. So,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing here, you're looking at dark images before I even touched them. This is what the doctor was
That's
actually able to notice just a little bit, and you can barely see these objects. And this is when she asked me to take a look at this further and see if I was able to use my software and bring these objects out. And it is a very, very time-consuming process to do this. And it takes, well, it takes quite a bit of time. And I was only dealing with 2 parts of one photograph, the upper right and the lower right. And after I was able to, make the pictures clearer, I can see very quickly that these objects were there and they were being hidden under heavy pixels, large pixels. And the process that I used, and I really shouldn't even divulge this, but I was able to increase the pixels from only 16 pixels, 4 by 4, a little square. And I increased those pixels from 16 to 10,000. And when I increase those pixels to 10,000, it clearly shows a well-defined object in the upper right and in the lower right. Okay, Doc, it's all yours.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Okay, so this is the lower right-hand corner. And what we see, several objects. The red arrows point to what I would expect brown dwarf stars to look like. So it's got a bright center, and then around that, it's not as bright. It's part of the cloud of ionized gas that always surrounds these objects. And they obviously, these ones have absorbed enough energy from the sun so that the core is starting to glow and emit more energy than the ionized cloud. So as you can see, there are 3. There's actually, I haven't pointed to it, but we were discussing earlier, and there's one right up in the sun's corona as well. You see the same kind of design. That's right. I think there's another one there. And as you can see, it's right in the sun's corona. This is why they keep using these cutoff lines and cutting off parts of the sun's corona, because these objects are right there in the sun's corona. And it's unbelievable that we've now come up with this. We can clearly see there are 3 of them there, surrounded by clouds of ionized gas. The yellow arrows point to the point-like X-ray sources. They are bright, so they are so small that you'd think they might be planets. But don't forget, planets do not emit X-rays. So I don't think these are planets. I think these are perhaps even denser, compact brown dwarf stars, and these ones do not have the cloud of ionized gas around them. Now, it's possible that eventually they get enough energy so that they start having plasma ejections from the surface of the star's core, and these burn right through the gas surrounding them, or it just gets burnt up. So I think these are stars as well, because they're very bright sources of X-rays.
Now moving down, this
Okay,
is
so if we,
the one from the top. This one was
yes,
very, very interesting here. This is in the top right-hand
yes,
corner.
that's right. So this one was the one that I first noticed, and I knew immediately this is a brown dwarf star because it's got the bright center and then it's got the ring-like structure around it, because these brown dwarf stars usually have two layers of cloud around them. They have one that's a ring-like and it's closely surrounding the core of the star, and then there's a cloud further out that is more diffuse and is not as bright. And this is what we see here. And then we see that there are the bright X-ray sources that are part of the system. There are two in that bottom one. And in the top one, still very faint, there's another brown dwarf star. This one is dark. That's right. This one is dark in the middle. Would mean, but there's, yeah, you can see the cloud of ionized gas and there's a bright source of X-rays beneath that. So I would say that's another system, or they could be, they part of the same system, maybe a binary system. But when they are dark in the center like that, what I think it is, they haven't been in the solar system long enough for the core to have absorbed enough energy and start emitting light. So it could be that the bottom one has been in the solar system longer than the top one. That's what I think. That's my theory. It makes sense to me from what I've observed that these objects do. They just take a little while. And that comes from what I first observed of the first brown dwarf star I actually observed was in 2007 images. And that one was dark in the center first. And just the cloud of ionized gas was glowing a little bit when it was far from the sun. And then as it got close to the sun, it stopped glowing completely. It went into energy absorbing mode. It was amazing. But we've had a live stream on that already. But it always reminds me when I see one with a dark center, it means it hasn't been here, I think, for very long. So these are the amazing images. I mean, this shows that these objects are there right next to the sun. These cannot be background stars, because background stars are sources of X-rays, but they just are very far away and would not be visible if their position is this close to the sun. So they cannot be background stars. They have to be close to the sun to be visible in these images. They cannot be planets, because planets don't emit X-rays. Only stars are X-ray sources, basically. So this is what we have. We actually have finally found these brown dwarf stars close to the sun. These are the objects they are using the cutoff lines to hide. It's these objects. As you can see, there are so many close to the sun. I mean, just in this image, we found 5 large ones and several other possibly even smaller brown dwarf stars. So when I started saying there are possibly 5 of them close to the sun, and people thought it was strange, look at it, there they are. And there are more than 5 of them. There are lots of them. They've come in droves into the solar system and are surrounding the sun.
And they're really trying to cover these up, ladies and gentlemen. They are really trying to hide what is there. There is absolutely no doubt. You know, after I worked with this one photograph and I tried my best to bring out what they tried to hide, there is absolutely no doubt. There were many remarks made that these were what you call JPEG artifacts, just basically pixelized images. But later on, I'm going to clearly show you 90-degree angles in a triangle in the corner where they tried to hide these objects. And if you've never heard the saying before, nature doesn't have 90-degree angles. Well, the same applies in space, not just here on Earth. There are no 90-degree angles in space. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do is you give me just 1 second. I'm going to go down here for 1 second. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen temporarily. And I'm going to pull up just one of these images that we were looking at earlier. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean before we move further into this, her paper. Oh, that's not the picture that I want. Yeah, we'll just we'll start with this photograph. Because I found this one to be very interesting.
Well, they are all extremely interesting, Scott. This is evidence that I've been looking for a long time.
Yeah, so are you able to see my screen, Doctor?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what you're looking at here is the upper right-hand corner of the photograph that is in the doctor's report. So as you can see, this object is clearly hidden in these pixels. These pixels are very, very large, and that's what you would use if you were trying to pixelize something. You would use these very large pixels. You wouldn't use small ones. Now, what I'm about to show you, pay very close attention. You're seeing this large pixel structure here. And I have already modified these pictures into 10,000 pixels. So if you take a look at what I've done, I've increased the amount of pixels. And as you can see these pixels are very, very small. So I'm just zooming in so you can see these. As I pan back, the picture becomes a lot more clear. That is a perfectly round object. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if these were JPEG artifacts, then everything would be square. You wouldn't have a round object in square pixels. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to just change some coloring just to show you the pixels. As you adjust this, you can see how you could easily disguise these objects with just using color and contrast. Very, very easy. As a matter of fact, let's just show them a little bit more. So we will take the exposure, and once you bring the exposure and you're starting to lighten things up, you can now see this object more clearly. You could see the illuminated center. Now I'm going to zoom in here more to show you when I put this through my program and I increased the amount of pixelization to 10,000. You can see how tiny the pixels are now. The more pixels, the more defined the image. So if you look at it, there you have it. And then you see over here the large pixels that they were using to cover the object. And up here, you'll see a perfect square image with a circular image in the middle. I have already increased the amount of pixels for that image and this image. Very, very easy. Let me see if I could bring out a little bit more light. This is not very easy to do either, ladies and gentlemen. This takes some time. Now this will show you, just using another filter, this will show you the size of the pixels.
Mm-hmm.
And we can play with the color. And there you go. There's your round object. Right there.
Yeah.
Very easy to see now. And if you zoom in, you can see once I was able to take the image, increase the amount of pixels to give the object more definition, you can see how tiny my pixels are compared to the ones that were used to hide the object. So, I mean, it does take some work to do this. It takes some time. And matter of fact, oh, let me see. I have the one on the bottom. Let me see if this is the photograph. No, that's not it. And this is the one on the bottom. So I'll just share this screen. Now, this is the lower right corner. And if you take a look, this is a perfect 90-degree triangle. And you could only see the pixelization in the lower right. There is an object here. There is a large object here. Clearly defined. Now, if you see the large pixels that they use to cover the objects up, as I increase the size, you can see as I added and made the pixelization 10,000 times, now you can see there is an object there that is not what they call a JPEG artifact. Those objects here and here are clearly defined. And again, you know, you can adjust some coloring to see if you can bring these objects out. You can clearly see they are there. There are the large pixels used. And as you increase it, you will see how I was able to bring these objects out once again. Very easy. Well, I don't want to say very easy. It's very easy to see now.
Yes.
That this has been done. And again, you know, it does take quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just increasing this so they can really see how these objects are seen. So, ladies and gentlemen, if this was a JPEG artifact, then what would be illuminating the interior of the JPEG artifact? What would be illuminating in here?
Yeah.
So that is an object, and there's another object right here. So once again, we'll bring this so you can see it. You can see the amount of pixels have been increased to bring out the definition. Now, yes, it does seem very distorted because I'm working with what they did to the SDO and the X-ray footage, but you can clearly see how they angled this off in a triangle, and they cut it off. But those objects are there, no doubt about it.
They are there.
So no matter which way you slice the pie, ladies and gentlemen, there are some objects there, and that's what we are looking at.
That's right.
So I'm going to go ahead and bring up your article again.
Yeah, I'm just so amazed that we.
You still with me, Doctor? We might have got cut off. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up real quick. I lost you there.
Sorry.
I could hear you now. Yeah, we were having some intermittent internet
Yes.
problems. I could hear you now. Could you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm fine. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
I think they.
your microphone was cutting off a little bit.
Oh,
Are
can
you
you
able
hear
to,
me now?
yeah, I can hear you now. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I am. Yes, I can
Okay.
see the picture now.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the upper right image again, where you can see the brown dwarf and typical outline for a brown dwarf.
Yeah, that was an amazing picture. I'm going to go ahead and pan. I'm
Yeah.
going to pan down to
Yes.
this part.
Okay.
You can take over from here.
Yeah. So that's the GOES image, also in X-rays. Can you hear me, Scott?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, good. I was just checking. Okay, so these are GOES images from May 1st. And what we see is a lovely cutoff line in both images indicated by the red arrow. Now, why would they use a cutoff line there? Why do you think, Scott?
Well, obviously, I mean, I've seen these cutoff lines for almost a year now, and I know you have. And, and once again, they're only going to produce these cutoff lines as a quick, easy way to hide something that they don't want us to see, period.
Yes. And notice that is exactly where we found those brown dwarfs on May 2nd. So that was the day after. The top right-hand corner, where we found that large, there were two actually there. And that's exactly where we see this cutoff line as well.
Yeah, it's a perfect triangle.
Also,
you just follow my cursor, you'll see the cutoff line extends from here, from this point all the way up, and from this point all the way down. It's on all of the images, and they just basically cut it off, period. That's
right. Also, it's in slightly different positions in both images. So the 1836, the cutoff line indicated by the red arrow is closer to the sun than in the 1844 image, which is on the right-hand side.
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Right. So, and then there are these, on the left-hand side, the blue arrows indicate two point-like X-ray sources, because it's difficult to see, they're very tiny, but they are there. And they are in different positions in both images. In other words, they moved slightly. Amazing. I mean, these objects are obviously close to the sun. They cannot be background stars because, first of all, background stars would not move between 1836 and 1844, right?
Yeah, that's a very short amount of time.
Plus, you cannot see X-ray sources that's close to the sun. It's impossible to see X-ray sources. And these have to be X-ray sources. So again, these are objects that are close to the sun. Compact stars that can only be brown dwarf stars close to the sun. So we get the same kind of thing that we saw in the SDO images that we've just examined. And these GOES images, we see the same kind of thing. There are objects around the sun, very close to the sun.
Now, these don't have to be massive, as in, for instance, the diameter of an object. I'm going to move down here to these next.
No, I mean, brown dwarf stars can be so small, they can be the size of the Earth. They can be larger as well. They can be the size of Jupiter and larger. But actually, the strongest ones, the most reactive ones, the densest ones would be the ones that are the smallest. And these can be the same size as planet Earth.
Yeah, I did read that one of those Harvard seminars, lectures that I watched for 8 hours, almost bored myself to death. But yeah, that's why I never became a physicist. you know, but
you should have, because
yeah.
now you're doing the job of a physicist.
Oh, I may have the ego to be one of these Harvard scientists and physicists, but I don't think that I could sit through those types of lectures.
It's different when you're doing the lecture. You know, you're presenting the lecture.
Oh, if I was
much more interesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
if I was presenting, I would be talking away. But as I was listening to it, they were discussing how the smaller, more compact, more dense brown dwarf stars that they located were very powerful, very, very powerful stars.
Yes.
And I just found that information, and that's very new information to the science community and astronomy community. And there were a lot of questions that were brought up at the end. And I don't mean questions that the other physicists and astronomers and astrophysicists had. They didn't have any of these types of questions, meaning they had questions because they needed more research and more data, and they were not being given all of the data from NASA. They clearly said that. They did not hide the fact that they're not being given all of the information to make more clear and more precise observations.
Yes.
And that right there, that sent up a red flag to me, thinking, okay,
that's right.
They don't want you guys knowing more than you already do.
Exactly. Yeah, well, the brown dwarf stars, the research is actually based on white dwarf stars. There's actually very little on brown dwarf stars themselves, but the white dwarf stars have been around, have been studied, and these are the ones that can be the same size as the sun, the Earth, and they often turn into pulsars, variable stars that emit X-ray, an X-ray beam. Oh, and that means I forgot to mention something in that GOES image. Can we go back up, Scott?
Absolutely.
Because what we see there, thank you. What we see there, do you see that green line there coming off the top of the cutoff line?
Yes.
That looks like an X-ray beam to me. So, and that comes from where these objects would be. So I kind of wonder if one of those objects is emitting this beam that goes right across the sun, because that looks like an X-ray beam. It doesn't look like the imaging system would produce that.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I'm not too familiar. I'm not too familiar with the GOES X-ray imaging and how it operates. I don't think that I don't think NASA would actually put that information out there. So that's actually a big question. But when I first started using this imaging, I had the same thought also. It kind of looks like it's scanning the sun to produce the image, but without knowing exactly how the technology works, once again, we're kind of at the mercy of NASA and their technology and what they're actually giving us to see. So believe me, we're lucky to get what we have.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think it's scanning, because if it was scanning, it would move from the top of the sun all the way down, but it sort of stays in around that same position. It just moves up and down a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like the cutoff image also moves a little close and a little further away from the sun. So I actually think that's an X-ray beam from one of these objects.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
and of course, there's the coronal hole that's about half of the size of the sun, which is huge.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's bad. It looks bad.
So
okay.
Pan down core 2 images.
Yeah, the core 2 images. So this is back to the object labeled Saturn that moves in from the left and gets to a certain position away from the sun. As you can see, as we move from left to right, you go from the first, second, third image. The blue arrows point to the object. And then when it gets to a certain point, we start to see the sun producing a CME. The CME grows, and you can see it goes right towards that object.
Yes, that was a very massive explosion.
Yes.
You know, I could always pull this up and show you what this looks like on the Core 2 imaging. And I had my doubts into what this object was, because I knew that Saturn was, you know, Saturn was out there somewhere, you know, where it would be positioned, you know, you could easily find. But the way that this object moved and came into your line of sight and just literally zipped right across and sort of at an angle, and then the imaging gets cut off because of the dates that are received. It takes a couple of days for this imaging to, I guess, get to NASA, let them cover up what they need to cover up, label what they need to label, and that's it. But as the doctor was stating, once this object started coming in closer and closer, the reaction of the sun was just, it was incredible, because as it approached, you could start to see very clearly, if you follow my cursor, right about here is when the sun started to react. And you could see the CME starting to produce. As it got closer, the CME was just absolutely massive. And then the following pictures coming from the Core 2 were completely distorted because of the energy coming from the coronal mass ejection, and it just distorted everything. And those photographs aren't even worth looking at, because you can't see anything. It's just everything went haywire.
Yeah, actually, I think what happened was the sun starts reacting. This is from April 28th. And first of all, as you say, the object moves way too fast to be far in the distance, as Saturn is supposed to be. The object has to be actually very close to the sun to be able to move this fast. And then we see that the same reaction that I saw the sun had with the brown dwarf star from 2007. This actually is what happens in these images. So if we scroll down, we'll be able to see that. So Core 2 looks at the sun's outer corona. So that's the region in the sun. It's not quite the inner corona. It's a little bit further out. And then what we see there is another CME from the sun. The object is still there above the sun, but now the blue arrow is pointing to the CME. And what we see is a dark circular shape coming from the sun with the CME.
Yeah, I've seen this. Yeah, right here.
Yeah. So I've thought about, I was thinking about it. I mean, what could cause this? Either it's the plasma making up the CME going around an object, or it's actually an object being ejected with the CME. And for the sun to go around the object, you would see it closing. I mean, you would see the plasma going up to the object, forming a circular outline, going around it, and then closing the circle on the outer side. And I don't see that happening here. I think actually one of these brown dwarf stars is ejected with the CME. It was right up close to the sun, and it's ejected with the CME, and it causes this bubble form inside the CME. Otherwise, a CME, there's no way you can get a dark shape inside a coronal mass ejection. It's just not possible.
It would be completely, perfectly spherical. I mean, just
exactly.
Yeah, just perfect. I mean, I've watched, oh my Lord, I've watched many CMEs up close and personal. And I've seen this anomaly before. I always wondered what in the hell would create that. You know, it's instantaneous, but again, you know, when you're looking at the images and NASA has, you know, first grab at these, it's hard to say what they're doing. I mean, they have the technology. They have the technology to disguise things, and there's no doubt. I mean,
yeah, I don't think anybody would actually think that it's possible that the sun would eject one of these objects. But obviously, that's the only explanation I can come up with. There is no way that this is normal. If there weren't any brown dwarf stars right up close to the sun, you know, that's the only explanation I can come up with. There isn't any other. Okay.
Yeah, the sun has been reacting, you know, I don't even know the words for it anymore. Very, very erratic. It's very hard to say from day to day what's going to occur and what information we're actually going to get, so we can try to investigate it. And I think that as the time has gone on, they are disguising things more and more to prevent us from seeing these objects. And it's not that hard for them to do it.
Yeah.
Because they have these images for many days before they are put online for the general public to see. So if I wanted to hide something, before I showed it to you, I would hide the damn thing the best I could.
Yeah. But I think that the number of objects around the sun and the fact that they are gaining more energy and emitting more radiation makes it more and more difficult to hide them. I think that is the big problem. I think there are more and more of them. And yeah, NASA's job is getting more and more difficult.
Oh, there's no doubt.
All right, so here, so here the blue arrow points to the same object, which I don't think it's Saturn. I actually think it's the same brown dwarf star that I saw in 2007, because the sun's reaction is very similar. Look at the outer corona, how it goes dark. And it fluctuates. It goes dark and then it gets lighter again, but never as bright as it was before. So it's almost like, you know, when you have too much of a power draw on your electrical system in your house,
it goes dim,
and your lights start flickering. Have you ever noticed that? How lights can start flickering?
Absolutely. If you get a draw, if you get a draw on electricity and it cannot handle it, yes, you will have the dimming effect.
That's right. So this is what I think we are seeing here. The sun has too much of a current, too much current is drawn from it by the brown dwarf star, or probably more than one, since you see the dark shadow underneath. I don't even mention it in the article, but when this happens, that dark shadow disappears. And right underneath, you know, right underneath the sun, south of the sun, at the south pole of the sun, that dark shadow disappears.
Yes. Oh, so, yes. Yeah. Directly under here. Yes.
That one. Yeah. So that's the first thing that happens. And I think there's an object right there at the south pole of the sun that's causing that permanent coronal hole. So the first thing that happens is that object that does not cause a shadow anymore. It looks like it starts glowing instead. And then the outer corona, so that the region around the sun fluctuates between darkness and light. This is equivalent to lights flickering. It's like the sun has too much of a power draw on it to the point that it starts flickering. So this is its potential drops and then goes up again, and then it drops again, because this very powerful brown dwarf star goes past it, just like it did in 2007, and does this to the sun. it actually stops emitting light in certain directions, like on the southern part on the left-hand side. There's a region there where it looks like there's a beam coming off it that is dark. That's because there's a region there on the sun that has become dark. As you can see, it's a strong, strong reaction from the sun. There is no way the sun would react to a planet, Saturn, that's way out in the outer solar system in this way. There's no way this object is Saturn. It's just impossible. It's just another one of NASA's lies.
Yeah, you could see that as in the other photographs here, you can see the tiny object that we're looking at, where I'm circling.
Yes.
You can see that it was illuminated. It was bright enough for you to see it with your naked eye in the imaging.
Right.
And then that was on the 29th. A few hours later, as it progresses, the interaction occurs. Now you cannot see it. It becomes a little faint object. You can barely see it. I would have to actually blow this up probably 300-400 times for you to see just a faint little blur, but that object is still there.
Yeah, it becomes very faint in these images, but it's definitely still there. If you zoom into the image, you can still see it. Yeah. So yeah, this is the strong reaction from the sun. So again, what we have in these core 2 images is a brown dwarf star.
You know, something I wanted to add,
more than one.
Something I wanted to add, during this time, ladies and gentlemen, there were all of the earthquakes that were occurring right off of the coast of the country of Chile in South America. They had so many earthquakes occurring. They were just offshore in the ocean, and I think in a matter of, I think there were about 60 earthquakes that were occurring in aftershocks, and some of the larger earthquakes were, I think, over a magnitude 6, 6.5, and they were felt as far as 100 miles inland to the country's capital of Santiago. And these earthquakes continued through this pattern that we're seeing here. So, you know, people keep saying that, oh, you know, there's no direct correlation between coronal mass ejections and coronal holes on the sun and earthquakes. But in actuality, that has already been scientifically proven that this does occur. And I don't know if any of you have, keeping up on the earthquake data, but there are quite a few earthquakes that are occurring. There was a massive amount of earthquakes that occurred in the southern Alaska region, British Columbia. In the course of, I think, a few days, they had over 400 earthquakes in a very concentrated area. Now, there was some argument about something to do with a glacier, but maybe it had something to do with a glacier, but 400 or 600 earthquakes in an area, I just don't see it. Some of these earthquake detections were on the surface, but as I examined all of these earthquakes and all of that activity, there was a lot of the earthquakes that were not very far below the surface, 20, 30, 40 kilometers. Some of them were 10 kilometers. There were so many, it was just very hard to define what was happening in that area. And the same thing happened in Chile, right off the coast during this time period. And then we had the big event that was occurring in southern Alaska, right on their lower panhandle in British Columbia. Very, very startling, because it's actually not too far from the Cascadian fault lines. And that was a little eye-opening. And I was actually kind of worried that that would have triggered something with the Cascadian fault lines, and we were going to have a horrible event, but thank God it didn't happen.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's move down here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and this is, okay, here we go. This is some
Yes.
other, the other footage.
Yes. So what I noticed was there were some very small, well, small compared with the sun, not that small, at the edge of these images. The yellow arrow points to these. So we see like they look like white spots right at the edge of these core 2 images, and they show up in different areas. Some of them are not quite white. As you can see in the 3rd image there are 2 yellow arrows. The top one points to a white dot, and the bottom one points to an object that is just bright orange. So these look like light-emitting objects that sort of come in and out of view of the camera. So they're right at the edge of the outer corona. So to me, this is fascinating. It again shows there are several light-emitting objects around the sun.
You know,
so some of them we.
If I'm not mistaken, during this time period, what you're pointing out in these small objects, and I remember looking at this footage as it was actually running, and I believe this is the point where the entire imaging goes completely crazy, and the time clock, the hours, the counter right here, it speeds up rapidly, and it looks like it's skipping time.
Yes,
but it speeds up so fast. It speeds up so fast.
It means they removed images, or there were images that they just didn't show. It was removed from, you know, whatever is available.
Yeah, because it goes.
That's why.
Yeah, it goes very, very rapidly from the 30th to the 1st, and I mean so rapidly within a split second. You're going from April 30th to May 1st, and then it starts to slow down around May 2nd.
Yeah, that means that there was just images that were not there. They're just not part of the data. They removed data. Obviously, because of these objects were clearly visible, they think that we won't notice them if they are at the edge of the image. It will just think it's some kind of error or something. But, well, I don't think there are errors. I think these are actually objects emitting light, and the camera is detecting them. Yeah. And as you can see that in the bottom ones where the sun, the outer corona goes dark, you can still see these objects.
Yeah,
there.
Right here. This one really shows it right here.
In the darkness there, you still see those objects. It's amazing. So as you can see, there are lots of objects. It's mind-boggling what's happening with the sun, how many objects there are around it.
I know it's kind of hard for people to grasp that this would even be a possibility of something like this occurring. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, you know, never, ever discount anything. If you just take a look and clearly see what is happening to this planet, what is occurring all over, not just in the United States, but all over the world, there are catastrophes related to weather, earthquakes, just unimaginable. And now, once again, the very sudden increase in volcanic activity. And now there are a lot of questions arising about the underwater and undersea volcanoes. And just the other day, BP Earthwatch reported on an underwater volcano that was erupting in the southern Caribbean off the coast of the island of Guadeloupe. And we know that there are millions, I think there's over 1 million or millions of these underwater volcanoes. And I guess there's no way to really keep track of all of these. And there may be some good news pertaining to the eruption of the underwater volcanoes, because they may be releasing a lot of pressure from the inner earth that needs to be released. Because, Doctor, I guess if there was no way of releasing this inner pressure, then I'm assuming that we would be having much larger earthquakes.
Absolutely. The volcanic eruptions release a lot of pressure, because don't forget what's happening to the inner earth. The magma is heating up because of all these objects in the inner solar system, and their very strong magnetic fields are causing induced currents inside the Earth's core and inside the magma flowing around there. It's expanding, it's putting pressure on the crust, the magma is rising up. But if some of the magma can be released through the volcanoes, you release some of this pressure. And
now
without
also,
that, yes, of course.
Also, I was just reading yesterday and today about more and more of the aquatic life, or as people refer to it, fish kills. Once again, these fish kills, tens of thousands of fish washing up on the shore of whatever country, and people wondering, well, why is this happening? Well, we understand that aquatic life is very sensitive. No matter how tough you think one species of aquatic life is, if they are subjected to being very, very close to an underwater volcanic eruption, well, the same gases that are associated with a volcano on top of land are the same volcanic gases that are released underwater. And aquatic life, well, if they're in the wrong place at the wrong time, they're going to die. And, as we know, large schools of certain species of fish, they travel in very large schools. So if that school happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time during one of these underwater volcanic eruptions, then yes, they're all going to die. Right. And we've been seeing this now for quite some time, and it's just not been concentrated in one area of our oceans. It's been all over the world.
That's right.
I get a lot of questions, and they want answers why this is happening. And I mean, that would be the only thing that I would think of that would kill tens of thousands of fish all at one time. Yes. And again,
well, just the increase in temperature can do it, yes, because fish can only tolerate a certain range of temperature.
Yes.
And if, of course, volcanoes are heating up the oceans, and so it changes the environment these fish find themselves in, and that can lead to them dying.
Yes, because I mean, if any of you have ever had an aquarium and you've had a heater inside of the fish tank, and if you're dealing with certain species of fish for your aquarium, you have to maintain a certain temperature. And I've always had aquariums. I had a pretty big 55-gallon aquarium, and I had some beautiful tropical fish, and the internal temperature of the water had to be maintained between 80 and 84 degrees. So you have the heating elements to keep the water warm. Yeah. Well, I had actually gone on a business trip, and when I came back, all of my fish were dead. Ooh. They were all dead. And I was pretty heartbroken because, I had had these tropical fish for quite some time. They were in a large 55-gallon tank. I just loved it. And I couldn't figure out what the hell happened. And then I found out 48 hours later, after I returned home from the business trip, that we had a massive storm and a power outage for 8 hours. Well, during the power outage, the heating element, well, naturally, it didn't have any damn electricity. So the water temperature dropped, and, you know, it shocked the fish, and they all died.
That's sad.
So, yes, I was very attached to my tropical fish. You know, but the same thing happens in the ocean with these massive increases in ocean temperature. And, you know, I'm sure there might be some other reasons, but we've been seeing entirely too much of this over the course of the last 2 years. And already throughout the beginning of 2017, once again, this is something that is worldwide. But you may hear about it in the news, and then you hear about it and it's gone. But then, as samples of these fish are taken, you never find out what exactly happened. Yes. You hear about the event, and then you hear nothing more. And I found that researching this, you're never given the final answer on what happened. But slowly, you know, we figure it out. And, you know, as you were talking about, you know, radiation, and I'm going to go ahead and just back out of this screen for a second. But as you were talking about radiation levels, I was actually once again taking a look at some radiation levels, once again enveloping our entire planet, looking at the magnetopause, magnetosphere, and the solar winds. And, you know, when I looked at it again this morning, you can clearly see solar winds reversing and heading back towards the planet Earth. And
oh my goodness.
And also once again, you see the whole entire Earth being enveloped by these large pockets of radiation that just they just encompass the entire planet. And that is very alarming, because we know, as you've stated and have written reports on, this is very, very damaging to living organisms, meaning humans or any other living creature, plants, animals. There was a report that came out from Mike from Around the World, was talking about yesterday, the scorched earth, fruit trees that they don't, the fruit trees, they don't know what time of year it is. Because of the increased UV that we're seeing, plants don't know what time of year it is.
That's right.
Very, very odd. And, you know, to tell you the truth, I should, just for the sake of taking a look at, could bring up the magnetosphere and magnetopause information quickly.
Don't forget, Scott, that with these huge coronal holes, and like I said before, the sun is turning into one huge coronal hole. We basically, the sun has become a source of cosmic radiation. So we're getting bombarded all the time.
Yeah, and I guess there's no way out of it.
There's no way. And as the coronal holes increase in size, we are going to get bombarded with more and more of it. And these objects emit ultraviolet light, it seems. So that's one of the reasons why we have so much ultraviolet light getting to the Earth. It's not the sun. As we can see in the SDO images, the sun is emitting less ultraviolet radiation. the ultraviolet radiation has to be coming from somewhere else. And I believe it is from these other objects that have come into the solar system and are emitting ultraviolet radiation and X-rays, because we can see them in the X-ray images. Yes, that's the electrons.
So, I mean, this is just, this is just for today. Something I found very odd.
Yeah, I mean, it looks very
like
red.
It looks like the magnetopause is bending back, as you could see these little black lines. I've never seen that bend back that far.
No.
And this is
looks
up to
very
date.
Strange.
Yeah, it does. I've never seen it bend back like that in this this imaging
and you
for the
see
radiation.
The orange color.
Yeah.
At the geosynchronous orbit. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been like this continuously now, nonstop for the last 2 months.
It's supposed to be green.
Exactly. It's ladies and gentlemen, if you look over here in the lower right-hand corner where you see my cursor, you'll see the levels. It should constantly be pretty close to the light blue or the greenish level here. When you start to see the colors of yellow and orange, and then definitely the red, you are seeing very, very, very high levels. Now, we've even seen instances where the devices that are monitoring this are so overwhelmed that it literally turns this entire yellow area red. And this is current. You could see the date up here for the 7th. It's in UTC time. So, it's actually a few hours ahead of your regular local time. But, it continues, and yet we still have people out there that say, well, there's nothing wrong. You're a liar. You are a fearmonger. You're not telling the truth. You're just trying to scare people for money. Oh, yeah. Okay. But, looking at here you go. I mean, you can see.
Yeah. It looks like there's another solar wind blowing from behind here.
Yeah. No,
because as you mentioned,
go ahead.
That magnetopause there was doing something strange. The two lines behind the Earth.
Yeah. This is what I wanted to show you here. You can see these arrows are reversing back towards the Earth.
That's right. They are indeed.
Now, I mean, the solar wind is fluctuating between, well, let's just say 540 to 570 kilometers per second, which is probably over 1 million plus miles per hour. And you can see,
it's faster than normal slow wind.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, no doubt.
We're never going back, it seems, to that normal slow wind speed, because there's just fast solar wind mixed in with the slow solar wind, it seems, nowadays.
Yeah, and it's the fluctuations back and forth, back and forth.
Look at those arrows. They reversing. You know, behind the Earth.
Yeah, definitely. I was looking at this morning, and I was actually kind of concerned because looking in, if you just follow my arrow, it's not, you're not supposed to see these arrows reversing backwards. No. And once again, you can see the very large red circular pattern, which is much elevated radiation completely around the Earth. And these solar winds are reversing backwards around the Earth. That is what is bringing in the heavy levels of radiation. I mean, what do you think about that, Doctor? The reversal of these arrows?
Well, the only thing that caused that kind of reversal is a solar wind coming up, not a solar wind, a star wind coming up from behind the Earth. And it's coming in waves. So, it goes in the right direction, then it reverses, goes in the right direction, then it looks like a wave pattern of particle flux from another star behind the Earth. I mean, it looks like, I mean, we just had that large one that's been coming in for years, a very reactive one that, you know, caused the last large magnetopause reversal.
Yeah.
And so this isn't quite as powerful as that. So we had that one cross Earth's orbit. It must be in the inner solar system now. Maybe that's why things have heated up so much on Earth since then. But it looks like there's another one coming in because there's another one behind the Earth for this to be happening.
Yeah, this completely, this boggles my mind whenever I see this, because we can't get a clear picture of what is causing the issue, but there's no doubt there is an issue. Yes. I'm going to bring up the magnetopause real quick. We're just going to bring this back a few frames. Doctor, a lot of people had some questions that are in the live chat. I didn't actually have it up while we were going through your information. But once again, here, just taking a look at this, taking a look at the front, the bow shock, you can see a very, very high increase level. And you could actually see some of the black magnetic field lines crossing over.
Yes.
Which is strange.
It is. Yeah, there's a lot of radiation. I mean, it's yellow around the magnetosphere there. I don't think it should be yellow. I think it should all be green. It's yellow and orange. There's a lot of particles hitting the magnetosphere. It's just more than usual, I think.
I'm going to see if I can grab questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to we're going to take a look at the SDO.
Mm-hmm. Yes, our sun, our poor sun.
I know, right? Several small coronal holes have opened up.
Yeah.
They were talking about this yesterday on the space weather report, and to what effect they'll have on our planet. You know, I mean, there's quite a large one that's opening up right below the equator of the sun. But let me see if I could dig up some questions from people.
Okay.
One of my great subscribers, Tony, they want to know if they should have any worry about what is occurring in Yellowstone. And I just saw on some of the earthquake reporting that there were some, well, I would say significant earthquakes above a magnitude 2.5 that did occur in Yellowstone.
Yes.
But what are your thoughts on Yellowstone?
Well, Yellowstone is a difficult one to, I mean, there have been a few earthquakes there, which is, you know, you can always think it's dangerous. It means the magma in the chamber is probably moving around. I don't think we should be worried just yet, though. I think that before something major happens there, we will see quite a few more earthquakes.
Yeah, I mean, my feelings with Yellowstone is just this. If something happens there, it's over. I mean, that is, from what I've heard, read, and understand, if a catastrophic event occurs at Yellowstone, it is considered an extinction level event.
That's right.
And that's just something that I just don't even want to think about. It's bad enough that we are going through what we're going through and trying to analyze it. But when I think of that, I just think, oh, shit. It's just something else for us to worry about. But the fact of the matter, it is there. It is a potential catalyst for, yes, a very, very life-threatening event.
Yes, basically, it could end life on Earth. I mean, it would destroy the major part of the United States almost immediately.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty close to like 2/3 of the United States would go. Yeah, almost immediately.
But the rest of the world would just go through a slow death. I don't know which is better, because there wouldn't be getting enough sun. So we'd get a type of nuclear winter, no photosynthesis, plant life would die, no food. It's just horrible.
I'm trying to read a few of these questions. It's a one good question by one of the followers, Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell. I love Peter Pan. It says, if there is a sun simulator, how does it have enough energy to produce photosynthesis?
Okay, so I'm not sure that the sun simulators are actually producing enough light to light up the Earth's atmosphere sufficiently to be just like the sun. Don't forget, the sun is still illuminating the Earth's atmosphere. And I think most of the light that the plants are absorbing is still from the sun. What the sun simulators do is they hide the fact that the sun sometimes goes dark. They hide the fact that there are objects going past between us and the sun simulator just appears, in the right position from that area on the Earth where the object would be seen. So that's the kind of thing they do. Don't forget that there are many of them. The Earth has probably been divided into different sectors, and there's a couple of simulators for those sectors. So whenever an object, one of the stars around the sun, would be visible at a certain sector on the planet, then they send in these simulators to hide that fact. I think we were to go completely dark, I'm not sure that these simulators would be able to take over the job completely. They're not as bright as the sun, and they are much closer to the Earth's atmosphere, so they can only illuminate a piece of the Earth's atmosphere at a time. And they have different kinds. I mean, they have the new ones that are more circular in shape than the ones they used to use, which were more hexagonal in shape. But these more round ones are actually seem to be operating in the Earth's atmosphere, because people have taken pictures of them where they are amongst the clouds. So you can see the cloud behind what appears to be the sun and in front of it. And the only way you can have that is if the device is actually amongst the clouds.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's one of their new type of simulators.
Yeah, because
and they look like light bulbs.
Yeah, I would like the way I see it, and what I've been observing for quite a long time is, it seems that they use the sun simulator at certain times. They would have to.
Yes.
And I don't think it's in the mornings, and I don't think that it is in the late afternoon. It's sunrise and sunset. Mm. It seems that it's in the middle of the day, because, I noticed last summer, between the hours of 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock, that everything just seemed super illuminated, like I was in a damn studio. It was just very weird. And I wasn't the only one making that observation. I had plenty of people from around the world telling me the same thing. And, you know, Jeff P. does a fantastic job of dissecting this damn thing. And he has come across, I think, the best information around the world on the sun simulation. There's no doubt. He has caught, I think, the most impeccable information there is. I think Jeff P. has proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are objects up there that are preventing us from seeing something that they don't want us to see. And I think he's done the most phenomenal job, like I said, dissecting and proving. That's right. He has proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's something there. Now, will we ever know, you know, will we ever know exactly what it is and exactly what it looks like? But I can tell you this much. Whenever I look at the live International Space Station footage and they show the sun, it doesn't look like the sun. I mean, we've all seen it. It looks like some type of, I don't know, it looks like something out of a movie. I don't know, there's something man-made.
It's definitely man-made. The first time I saw it, I knew that was not the sun. That could not possibly be the sun. It didn't look like a star at all. It looked like a device. It looked like laser beams were being used.
Yeah, it looks very weird. And you know, sometimes when I watch this footage, I can't even look at it anymore because it pisses me off that I can't figure it out, or I don't know what exactly it is. One of my longtime subscribers, I love her to death, Rosie, I love you, baby. Hey, listen, she has a question. She wants to know, can the wind from the sun cause windstorms on the Earth? Now, I know that they just refer to the solar wind as a wind, but it's really not a wind like we experience here on Earth.
That's right. Okay, so the solar wind is actually particles moving at high speed from the sun. Them come in the direction of the Earth, and so they impact the Earth's atmosphere. And some get deflected by the Earth's magnetosphere, generated by the Earth's magnetic field. And some of them get through, and they will first head to the poles. They can cause auroras, but some particles always get through the magnetosphere. And the faster the solar wind, the more these particles can get through. When the particles get through, they impact the Earth's atmosphere and cause all kinds of things. So they impact the weather in several ways, and I think we've talked about that. So because they can generate different weather and earthquakes and so on, and they can heat up the ocean, and we get more evaporation, and then we get higher pressures and lower pressures, and that can cause higher winds. Okay, so that is how there is a connection between the weather patterns and the solar wind and the number of particles that get through the magnetosphere.
Okay, we had another interesting question, and I mean, I know everybody wants to know this, but and Jenna is posing this question: when do you think that we would actually be able to see planets or a planet? Because I truly believe that these brown dwarf stars, I truly believe, based on what I've researched, that they have other planets or other planetary bodies orbiting around them. And if that is the case, do you ever think that we would actually be able to step outside, look up into the sky, and just have one of those WTF moments and say, wow, that is not the moon.
Yes.
That is not Jupiter. That is not Venus. What in the hell is that? And I know Gil Broussard touched on this at one point whenever I was having a very long conversation with him. And he said that, yes, there will be a day that you will step outside and everyone will be a believer, because the sun simulation devices and the way they're trying to hide everything will no longer work because the objects will be too close. So how do you see things?
Well, first of all, some of us are having those moments. They are sometimes brief, where we do see something in the sky that is not normal. I mean, I myself had that moment last year. I think it was about June or July that I saw something. And of course, I noticed the sunsets were not normal. But as to actually looking up into the sky and seeing these objects, and as you say, they are getting brighter. It's not so much that they are closer, it's just there are more and more of them, and they are getting more and more visible, and therefore more and more difficult to hide. But I think the powers that be will never give up from trying to hide them from us.
Oh, I don't think so.
I don't think they will.
Yeah, they'll piss.
I don't think they'll ever make it easy.
I mean, could you imagine pissing 7.5 billion people off? Making
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're ever going to divulge that information. One of our other viewers, Tyler, had a question, and his question is, if there is a sun simulator or dwarf planets, what is the calculations of the effect on inner planets? So basically, what do you think the effect on the inner planets? Well, we only have, Mercury, Venus, the Earth, Mars. We already know that these planets have been heating up, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's very little data on this. I mean, the data that I came across about the planets heating up most of it was quite old. Some of it was from the 90s, and already then the planets were heating up, but then it was in the news. They were not so concerned about hiding it. I mean, it was basically observations that Pluto, for example, went out further from the sun, and the effects on it, it got brighter, and it looked like, it had less ice than it should have had. And so it was just observations like that. I mean, doing actual calculations is a bit difficult when there's so little data available. All we basically have. That's basically impossible. Is the observations. Yeah, we have the observations that, for example, Mars, the ice caps was reducing in size and things like that. I know that was the type of thing. Yeah, I know that. I'm a big fan of David Wilcock. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of him before, but I'm a very big fan of David Wilcock. And David Wilcock, several years ago, he went through a very detailed explanation with absolute proof that every single planet, from Pluto all the way to Mercury, including the Earth, has been perturbed and has heated up. And this was all based on data that was revealed by NASA, space probes, satellites, objects sent out into deep space. And he proved, and this was maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And if you look up David Wilcock, absolutely fantastic researcher. He does a lot of information now on the full disclosure of alien life.
here on this planet and abroad. But he showed very clearly that major things occurred over the course of, I think, either the last 15 years, if not longer, 15 or 20 years, that all of these planets have been perturbed in some way or another, and they had heated up. So there is definitely some evidence out there. You kind of have to go out there and search for it, because there's not very much evidence or information out there relating to this. But yes, it has occurred, and probably going to get worse.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, these planets, I mean, these brown dwarf stars have very strong magnetic fields. The magnetic fields cause the inside of planets, the core of planets, to heat up, because it produces induced currents in the core of the planets, and that's why they are heating up.
Yeah, some of the information that I viewed when I watched that conference from David Wilcock, a lot of it had to do with the planet Uranus and Neptune.
Yes.
And it was absolutely amazing information. All of this information was captured by one of the deep space probes. I forget, I don't know if it was New Horizon or one of them, that detected these increased temperatures on Neptune and Uranus and so on. So I don't think that, I mean, at this point in time, I know this is going to sound kind of funny, but I'm not worried about Uranus. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's quite far out.
Yeah, well, whenever David Wilcock, yeah, whenever David Wilcock has to talk about Uranus, he uses the other term for it. He says Uranus, because the whole entire crowd starts laughing when he starts to talk about Uranus. Yeah, so he uses the other terminology, like you say potato, I say potato. You say tomato, I say tomato. Okay. So he says Uranus, and others say Uranus. So, he always gets a pretty good laugh whenever he talks about this. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever want to get some really, really great information, you want to follow someone who is absolutely fantastic, look up David Wilcock on YouTube and, start checking out all of his information. He's been on YouTube for quite some time. You may have seen him on the History Channel television show Ancient Aliens, and he's a fantastic researcher. And now, for the last 2 years, because of the information that he's been divulging on alien life on this planet Earth, he has now had to, employ a complete security force that actually lives with him. I've mentioned this before, like myself, I don't have any social life anymore. You have to be very careful what you do. There are a lot of nutty people out there. I mean, I just talked about it in the beginning of this broadcast, how I get the death threats and, blah, blah, blah. And people try to disprove everything that we're saying is bullshit. It's wrong. You're a liar. You're a fearmonger. You're this, you're that. But yet, we can clearly see all of these things occurring around our planet. But yet, we don't see anyone or any government or any other scientists coming out there and putting themselves on the line and saying, okay, well, this is what's happening, and let me explain it. But the United States government opened up a space weather office in Washington, D.C. a year ago, or a little more than a year ago, and still we have not had one press conference from these people. We don't even know where the office exists. but yet they have federal funding and a title. Don't you think that over the course of the last year that we've had plenty of damn stories related to space weather? I mean, come on. Where is this office? It's a federal government office. Obama wrote it into law as an executive order. Where are the people working there? Why are they not giving statements? Why are they not holding press conferences? What the hell is going on? And now, why is so worried about space weather when they couldn't have gave a shit about it before? But they still don't talk about it. If it wasn't for channels like mine and BP Earthwatch, Mike from Around the World, Suspicious Observer, a lot of other channels, the Higher Truth channel, Jeff P., Steve Olson, WSO, a lot of the other channels, Chris Potter, all of us out there trying to find the truth, trying to bring it to the world population, and they shut us up. I'll mention Dutch Since again with his earthquake forecasting. Some of the best, I think the best in the world. That man is the best in the world. And what have they done? They're trying to silence him and shut him up. Why? Because he has a talent and the knowledge and now I think the expertise to forecast earthquakes better than any man or woman or human being, whatever, on the face of this planet. So you want to shut him up. I mean, now I start talking about this and it gets me mad because that is the whole basis of my YouTube channels, is to try to get at the truth so we, as a people, the human species, have a chance to survive. I think we have the right to know what the hell is going on. But I guess there are others that think we're crazy, we're foolish, we're fearmongers, and we're all in this for the money. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's just put this out there. As far as the money goes, yeah, okay. You don't see me driving around in any Mercedes or BMW, and I'm sure as hell not living in a $300,000-$400,000 home. I don't have a big bank account, and Google and YouTube are sure as hell not paying my bills. They have done everything they can possibly do to stop my YouTube channels from being broadcast around the world. Bottom line, I am the #1 trolled channel on all of YouTube. It has now become a personal vendetta between me and these people who call themselves the truthers. Get the hell out of here with that bullshit. I'm still alive. My channels are still here, and I'm still here, and I'm not going anywhere. And we are going to continue to plug away each and every day to find out the truth. We're not perfect, but you don't see us hiding. We are right here in plain sight for all to see and all to listen to. I'm sorry I have to get on my preaching tangent, but sometimes, I have new listeners. We have new listeners, and sometimes it just has to be said. And I find myself repeating myself, but that is because we always hope for new listeners, new viewers, new subscribers to help get the word out a little bit. People were asking me about, they're sending me pictures on my Planet X Facebook page. Well, this scumbag troll operation, they filed a bunch of false accusations against me with Facebook, and Facebook suspended my personal Facebook page and my Planet X Facebook page for 30 days. I think I got maybe another 2 weeks to go. You know, the pages are still up there, but I can't answer inbox messages. I can't post any pictures. I can't look at your information other than just, well, I can look at it, but I can't download it. I can't do anything with it. So you can thank the trolls. Woo, that's a big win for the trolls. A big win for, you know, fake book. Because if anybody's censoring heavy, it's Facebook. I refer to that guy, Mark Zuckerberg. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to do our best, but yet, you know, we get kicked in the balls every single day. You know, I have over 50-some thousand subscribers on my Nibiru channel, 13,000 subscribers on the Planet X channel. But yet, you know, the views, it shows, oh, you know, 3, 4, 5,000. But yet, whenever I broadcast on the X Factor radio station that I opened up, the numbers are absolutely off the chain. So how is it that all these people in all of these countries around the world are able to listen to me on Blog Talk Radio, but they can't listen to me, and they can't hear me, and they can't see me on YouTube? What's wrong with that picture? I'd say we have some serious flaws out there. And the bottom line is, they just don't want you to have a visualization on a lot of these issues. Mainstream media, well, I don't know. You know, CNN, CBS, ABC, blah, blah, blah. I think they're all crap. I think if you have to use a green screen and lie to the world population or even your own country, you're pathetic. You're a puke. They all have an agenda, and all they want to do is discredit Donald Trump. Well, look, he won the presidency. He is the president. Get over it. I mean, really, who the hell did you want in there? Did you really want Hillary Clinton? I mean, I would have picked Donald Trump. I've never been a big fan of his. But if I had to pick between the two, I mean, wow. I mean, you know, whatever. I don't like to get into politics, but, you know, we have so many other events occurring around the world on a daily basis, minute by minute, and that's all these people can talk about is Donald Trump. I think we should boycott mainstream media altogether. But now we can't even trust social medias like Twitter and Facebook and now YouTube and Google. I mean, we the people make these companies. We the people make these companies. They don't make themselves. Just think about it. What the hell would Google and YouTube do without us? Without the viewers? Without the creators? Where would they be? They wouldn't be anywhere. Bottom line is, we the people are the most powerful creatures on this planet. This planet belongs to us. God gave us this planet. He didn't give the damn planet to the government. He didn't give the planet to social media tycoons. I think the biggest fear is total loss of control and people taking back what is rightfully theirs. But that's just my view. I don't know how any of you think about it. What do you think, Doctor? You think my views are okay? Did I lose the doctor? I think we lost her. I hope she didn't fall asleep while I was busy talking. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I think we might have lost her. Her internet connection was going in and out earlier when we were talking, but I think we were able to clearly show, you know, what has been occurring and the possibilities of what we have found in these photographs. And we are going to continue each and every day trying to prove every single day that our planet is under a threat. And there are people that don't want you to know this. And that's very critical. I think it's very ignorant. It really makes you wonder about today's society. Doc, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm here. Was I gone for a while?
Yeah, I thought we lost you. I was asking you your opinion on
I'm sorry.
on my squabbling that I was doing. You know.
Well, you mean about
the way that I think of things.
No, I think you're right. I think people, there are certain channels and people on YouTube and so on that don't like the truth. They may call themselves truth seekers, but they are actually not interested in the truth at all, it seems. And they do everything to cover up the truth, which is why they attack us so much.
Oh God, I know. I mean, just to be quite honest, I really hate the way that I despise the way that they say that they are truth seekers, when it seems to me that they are trying to cover up the truth. Because if you were actually out there looking for the truth, then why would you go on personal attacks? Attacking an individual is not attacking the truth. You're a hypocrite in my book. So that means that you seeking the truth, well, you don't have any evidence, you don't have any ammunition, so therefore you have to attack the person. And when you attack the evidence, you lie. You lie. Plain and simple. So, I mean, the bottom line is, hey, you know what? If people aren't interested in what's happening around the world, they are not interested in this subject, then like I've said before, don't watch. Don't listen to the videos. Don't watch the videos. You know, just go on your merry way. Join one of the troll groups. There's a couple of them out there. There's about 16 channels on all of YouTube. And they're all after me, ladies and gentlemen. Every single troll group out there on YouTube wants my ass. You ever wonder why? I'd like to hear some comments. I'd like to see some comments in the comment section of this live stream right now. This is my question to everyone. Why do you think the troll groups on YouTube want my ass so bad? Why do you think they want to silence me and my YouTube channel? Let's hear it.
Well, actually, I think we are a threat to the powers that be, because they don't want the planet to know the truth. And we are telling the planet the truth. And therefore, by doing what we are doing, which is telling the truth, we have become enemies of these powers.
That is correct. And you know what? One gentleman by the name of Robert just answered just answered a question. And why do you think the troll groups on YouTube want my ass so bad? And he stated because Uranus. Yeah, that wasn't a homophobic remark either. Yeah, they probably want my ass more in more ways than one. But it doesn't bother me. You know, they actually think that it does get to me, and
yes.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't. It wastes some of my time, no big deal. But what we're going to be doing here in the very near future, like starting tomorrow, we're going to be completely ignoring all of it. And they can produce 20 videos a day about me. They can do whatever they want. They can hold their Google Hangouts and talk all the trash they want. And oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the lady that we're speaking with on this live stream right now, she is not impersonating herself. She's the real deal. And I still find that very amusing that they are still putting the information out there that the doctor is impersonating herself.
It's really funny. I mean, they tried for months to find out who I was. And now they think I'm impersonating myself. It's like they don't believe what they found out. That's interesting.
Yeah, I just find that, you know, I mean, once again, they're all hypocrites. But, you know, and I do clearly see that there is a massive campaign to shut down information, you know, based on the numbers that I had audited from my website that linked directly to every single one of my YouTube videos shows clearly when the audit was done last month that YouTube is not posting the correct data, meaning that every time I post a video, there is an average of 1,000 viewers per hour, which would total, you know, a little over 24 to 25,000 views per day. And we are getting about 1/5 of that. So that's pretty impossible because I link my videos to the website. So if somebody clicks on the video on the website, it counts it and it takes it directly to YouTube. So those views should match almost perfectly, but they are there is more than a 90% difference.
Oh my goodness.
And I mean, I forwarded the information to YouTube 5 times already, and I've gotten absolutely no response. None. Oh, well, I did get one response. It was a form letter, and it stated that, "Thank you very much for your inquiry. Please understand that YouTube is going through some changes, and we are making modifications on this and that. And basically, this form letter is to shut you up."
Sure. That's terrible.
But again, you know, I mean, this is not about money. This is not about advertising. This is about trying to find the information and bring it to the world population. And they do not want me to do that. They want these channels on YouTube to go away.
That's right.
Now, they don't do anything to the troll operations. I've divulged all of the information to them. I've outlined it to them. They've only terminated 3 of the channels, but they turn around and boom, they're right back on YouTube because they know that's what I will do.
Yeah, but I also think, Scott, that, you know, you work hard at finding information, and a person should get some reward for their hard work. I mean, if you do a job, you expect to be paid. If you work on creating a video and the contract says that you should get paid for the views that you get, then you should get that. And if you don't, then they're stealing from you.
I mean, YouTube now, they're in complete violation of their partnership program contract And but there's nothing you could do about it. There's just, they control all of the numbers, they control all of the data. And yes, I mean, I mean, you know how much work I put into my day to day. I mean, my day begins at midnight so I can coordinate with you. And, you know, you're 6 hours ahead of me. Chris Potter is 3 hours behind me. I'm stuck in the middle. And the majority of the time, I don't know what day it is. Yeah, I have a lot of that lately, that I don't know what day it is. You know, the actual date, the time.
Yes.
If I'm lucky, I get 4 hours of sleep, and that's sometimes in the middle of my afternoon. And there's a tremendous amount of research. It just goes on. And I've been at this for a long time, but I have discovered a lot of things, and I have put these things out there for the world to see. And I know for a fact that because I've done this, they've put the hammer down on me, and I am the #1 target on YouTube. They want me gone. Now they want me dead.
Sure.
I mean, they literally want me dead. I mean, this is ridiculous.
It is.
Whatever, you know. Their day will come. Just like I said, I better not be responsible for you to get into heaven, because I'll send you straight to hell. And then I will be riding your back all the way down the hell. That's a fact. You know, and then, you know, everything that's been done to you it's just been sickening. But, you know, I mean, I've been reading a lot of emails, and again, the outpouring of support for you has been absolutely overwhelming. I believe that you have touched the hearts and souls of a lot of people.
Thank you so much.
That's definitely something to keep your head up and keep your chin up and be proud of, because there's not anyone else doing it. I don't see anybody else stepping up to the plate and saying, let me try to help. Let me use my expertise and my knowledge to try to help people understand what is happening.
That's right.
But time goes on, and we will go on. There is just absolutely no doubt about it. Now, I wanted to just touch on something very, very quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, there have been a lot of people that have been asking me why I'm not paying attention to all of the emails that I get. And a lot of people are saying that, you know, they're sending me a lot of photographs and videos, and I'm not getting back to them. Well, here's one of the reasons. Over the course of the last 90 days, even though I have some of the best top-notch antivirus and malware software, I've been finding that, you know, there have been a lot of instances where people are trying to send me viruses that are attached and disguised in photographs and videos. So I have to be very, very careful at what I'm doing. Number two is I have already gone through so many copyright strike violations against my channel because people are sending photographs in. If I use the photograph, that person's waiting for the opportunity to file a copyright strike stating that, hey, that's my photograph, that's my video. This channel is using it illegally according to federal law. And once again, I have to deal with a copyright strike. I have to go through all of the process with YouTube, and YouTube clearly sees that it is fake, but yet it just holds me up. So what I've done is I've been viewing the photographs, I've been viewing the video, but I come to that situation where I take a chance on using your footage, using your photographs, because the troll organizations throughout YouTube have gotten very, very sneaky, and they will do nothing but try to bring your channel down and then sit back and laugh at it. But like I've said before, I have somebody that is involved in their troll organizations that is helping me, and they are divulging all of the information and all of the plans that these people are conducting, and they're giving me the information, and I am slowly but surely staying one step ahead of them. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, troll. You troll organizations are scum. You're scum. But, you know, this is not about them. This is about everyone else.
Yes.
So we're going to be back probably tomorrow sometime. Mm-hmm. And the doctor has a very, very interesting report that she's done. Actually, she did it last week. Excuse me. This goes back to some footage back from 2007 that got me into a lot of trouble with the debunkers. And the doctor has dissected all of this. And we were supposed to do a live stream on this information last week, but so much has been going on, and we've actually put it off. But we're going to go ahead and bring this information to you probably tomorrow. Doc, what does your schedule look like for
Yes,
tomorrow?
I can do it tomorrow. I can do it tomorrow, Scott.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Between me and you, we'll go ahead and we'll schedule that. And yes. I think that's going to be pretty interesting. And what I will do is I will pull up the actual video information. I'll have that readily available to combine with your report.
Okay.
And we're probably going to get a lot of heat for it, you know.
We get a lot of heat for everything we do. So.
That's true. I know.
Yeah.
I could only imagine. Mm-hmm. Well, listen, I am going to let you go. If you could just hang on, I'm going to go ahead and end our live stream here. But ladies and gentlemen, just some final thoughts from me. I want to thank each and every one of you. And like I've said before, you know, we are all in this together. There is no me and you. It is all of us together. And we're simply trying to find out for a fact what is happening here in our planet. Sometimes this information's just very depressing. It's very sad. What I find the saddest is just the way that some people, human beings, are reacting to the information and how they're treating others. I'm no angel. I go after people that come after me, but that's just my nature. That's the way I was raised. I don't turn the other cheek. I'm a fighter. I'm not going to cower down and disappear. That's what they want me to do. That's what they've tried to force on the doctor. That's what they've tried to force on a lot of other channels on YouTube. But it's not going to work for me. It's not going to work. If you shut me down today, I'll be back tomorrow. And if you do it to me tomorrow, I'll be back the next day. It's that simple. And like I've told all of these factions before, stay out of my face and leave me alone, and I will leave you alone. But that's not good enough. Mm-hmm. It's now become personal. Mm-hmm. But like I take an excerpt from The Godfather, one of my favorite movies. And they say in the movie, hey, you know, it's nothing personal. It's just business. Well, that's my attitude. Nothing personal. It's just business. Right. And I'm in the business of finding out what the hell is going on and what they're trying to cover up and hide from all of us. And if you can't see it, take your blinders off. Think with an open mind. And you'll see you will clearly see what's happening around the world, what's happening to our planet, and where is this going to take us? I think all humanity is under a direct threat. That's my personal opinion. You form your own opinion. We will we will keep plugging away each and every day. As long as I have air in my lungs and my heart beats, I'm not going anywhere. That much is a fact. And again, like another saying goes, you can take that to the bank. This is Scott from Planet X News and our Doctor of Physics. We appreciate you joining us today. Stay tuned. We will be back sometime tomorrow with another very critical report. Everybody have a great Sunday. Thanks for watching.